John,
Angie.
how do you feel about coaching people who are more successful than you?
He's more successful than me.
Do you need a list?
Oh, that's just hurtful.
Dawn, do you think you can recover whilst we run the intro?
Yeah, I'll be okay.
All right, good. Let's start the show.
Welcome to the Coaching Clinic with John and Angie, the show for professional coaches that explores the ins and outs of coaching, from working with clients through to running and marketing your coaching business.
If you're a professional coach who's committed to your own personal and professional growth, cares about making a difference, and wants to have a successful coaching business, you're in the right place.
My name's John Ball.
And I'm Angela Bezignano.
Between us, we have over 50 years of coaching experience and best practices to share with you. From getting started to scaling up your business.
We know what works and what doesn't, as well as what it really takes to have a successful and thriving coaching business.
With new episodes every Wednesday.
Make sure you're subscribed to get them fresh. All right. So seriously, I think that at some point, every coach that is out there, even if it's somebody that's just starting out, I think every single person will come across somebody that we perceive to be more successful than us in life. And obviously we're talking about it. So I had an experience or several where that has come up for me. Has it come up for you? Have you ever felt like that?
A bunch of times. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Probably not, strangely, not so much in my earlier coaching days, but it actually come up more, I would say more in the last 5 years.
That is so interesting.
Doesn't that seem unusual? Or maybe that's just where I've been able to notice it more.
Well, let me ask you though, is it because you're exposed? This is an interesting thought that just came to me. Do you think it's because you're now exposed to higher level people? More of them?
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it. A lot of the people I was coaching in my earlier days of coaching were just flat broke. So I would say there were a handful who were successful in many ways in their businesses and other things. And I didn't really feel threatened by it because they weren't in the same areas that I was in. So I guess I didn't really relate to, maybe they were more successful in their business results. But it was probably only the last 5 years or so that I really started coaching people who were in similar areas to me, who were sometimes much further ahead than I was.
That's so interesting because I think it comes back to I'm going deep early, I'm hitting it, but I feel like there's this perception of success. And I think that everybody has a belief system or something like that defines success for them. So it could be in terms of income, somebody who makes a certain amount of money or more, but it also could be the actual career. So my first experience with that was with a client that actually worked for NASA.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they weren't just an administrator, and they were an engineer. And I remember thinking before the call, wow, this person is really clearly super intelligent. And no offense, because I think I'm pretty smart, but I'm not NASA smart. Just being honest, right?
Yeah.
And that intimidated me.
Unsurprisingly, though, but because you don't know how things are going to go, or you don't know if someone's going to turn around and say, I don't think you understand what you think you understand, or something like that. It's like, those things, I guess those things are always possible. I have had situations with coaches where they've said something that I was like, yeah, that's not true, or that's not right. So that has come up weirdly, but it's never come up for me on a coaching call as a coach. This is bang to my own greatness here, but it just hasn't happened. But I have had a lot of fear about coaching people, particularly people who may be either quite well known or at least well known in industry, or people who I know just because I know their business and know them, are how I would say I would define them as being more successful than me.
Yeah, so I think that's the first space is like, what do you even consider to be success, right? And then here's the question though, why does it matter, right? And this is what it boiled down to for me, like, so if they are more successful, does that mean I am not able to coach them?
Mm.
because we're all human first. And really, that was probably the lesson for me, was that, like, wait a minute, I don't really care other than Jesus himself coming down and saying, hey, I need some coaching. I might be a little intimidated, but I'm joking. I'm making a little joke there. Don't get offended and don't come at me. I'm
Don't
just saying,
write it.
you know?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean, and I look at it from that sports perspective. And I know you like a good sports analogy. This is just more of a sort of cross perspective of sports coaches. Often, the people they're coaching may well go on to be much more successful than them. Maybe not, but often they will. That's surely what the coaches want, is that for their coachees to be more successful than them. And if someone is at the top of the game in tennis, as an example, and they're still going to have a coach, they still need somebody
Mhm.
who can watch them in their game. But is that person necessarily better than them? Or is that person just a good coach, good at actually observing things, helping them work on things, noticing their form and giving them the encouragement and feedback and having that good relationship with them? It's not about being better than the person you're coaching. That's not even really
Right.
relevant. It's, can you coach them? Can you help
Right.
with whatever they're coming to you to help with? And that's the real thing, is like, you don't need to be so far ahead of the
Yeah.
clients that you're working with. If you are mentoring people and telling them what to do, then yeah, sure, maybe there's some credibility things that you might need to get in check. Like, I can remember a friend of mine wanting to do relationship coaching, and she didn't feel that she could do that in integrity because she hadn't had much success in her own relationships. I didn't personally think that was a bar to being a relationship coach, because she certainly has experience and she knows plenty about what doesn't work, but it's not really relevant. It's, can you understand what's going on in people's relationships, what's going on for them emotionally, and can you help coach them on that? That's more the issue there. So yeah, when we actually get into it and get out of our own sort of ego feeling threatened or those kinds of things, we probably recognize we can still work with clients who might seem, on paper at least, to be way ahead of us, or they might have more notoriety. They might have taken way
Right.
more action than us in a certain area. And it's, what would you do if Mel Robbins came to you for coaching?
Oh, I'd be like, what's up, girl? Well, listen, but it's funny that you say that, because I was saving it. Because I had a situation where I was in a training room, I'm going to just say ballroom size, with a very well-known high-level person. And it was for one of my certifications. And so essentially we had to do some breakouts and do some coaching on the framework. And interestingly, somehow I got paired up with this person's right hand person. And they told you, like, oh, by the way, you're going to be with this person, go take a 10-minute potty break and come back and be ready to coach. And I remember going, you would have thought that if I didn't do this well, like, they were going to come and take my life, my family, my house, my kids. Like, I was so nervous. I went to the restroom and I remember being like sweating, my palms, my heart was racing.
Was
And
it
I got
Gail? Was it Gail? Were you getting close to Oprah?
oh, it was not. But you know what? It might as well have been. It was really that big a name. But then I turned it around and it was like, you need to just do it. So, just go do it. And when I sat down with the person, I was like, hi, all like good doe-eyed. And I said, okay, get your nerves out. And I looked this person right in the face and said, this has to be the most intimidating moment of my life, but I'm going to give it a shot. And they were like, okay. And listen, but let me tell you what happened. I did it. I rocked it. Would I say it was perfect? I feel like because the bar felt so high, that it actually elevated and it extracted from me what I really was capable of doing. And later in this 500-person ballroom, this person got up and said, well, and we didn't know this was going to happen. There was like an analysis, and they had to rate us in front of everybody. And they rated me a 9 out of 10. And I was like, hey, like, there I was all of a sudden. You all could see me right now. I'm like giving the big smile, like I'm doing my red carpet walk right now. That's how it felt. And that was a moment for me, right? That was
Mm.
a moment where once everything wore off and I had a minute to process what had just happened, I was like, of course I can do this. I'm a coach. This person is still just a person.
Right.
right? They put the pant legs on, like all the cliches, right? And that was a great, great, stressful, but great teaching moment for me that you have to expect as a coach that you are always growing. You always have some place to go next. We're not going to get it perfect every time. So we have to let go of that expectation.
Yeah. I don't think it's a bad thing if even thinking about this has our listener questioning their own coaching skills and ability, because I think we should all do that. We should all be thinking about, are you continually growing? Are you staying ahead? Are you learning enough to be able to bring new insights and aspects into your coaching and your school of thought that are going to be helpful, not just to you, but to the people you work with? Or are you just following a coaching formula that you learned at coaching school or some home study course that you're working with people on? because because that enough in the long run, if that's where you're at, you're going to struggle if things go off script. But if you
Right.
keep your learning growing, you're always going to be in a position where you'll have something to add, something that's value. But there's always, in coaching particularly, there's always this aspect, or hopefully there's this aspect of, you are an external, what would you say, an external person to what's going on. So people often cannot really see the truth of what's going on in their own lives because they're in it. It's hard
Sure.
to see it all when you're in it. So being a coach is about being that external viewer and aiming to look without judgment, without limitation on things like, what are they not seeing? Or how can you reflect back to them what they're actually saying and not really seeing for themselves in a way that's going to help them to grow and develop from that? Not to have all the answers for them, not to be ahead of them and say, all right, I need to pull you up here. I don't need to pull you up from anything. I just need to have enough detachment from what's going on for you to be able to help you see the game more clearly so you can plan your steps forward and get over obstacles that are in your way. But I don't need to be ahead of you in all of that to help you with that.
Well, listen, if we really took on that mindset of, I need to be ahead, first of all, how do we even know that? Number
Yeah.
one, realistically, because I would say to you this, that some of the highest level of people, and I mean highest level in terms of like careers and that type of space, are some of the most challenged people that I have. They're across the board. I'm thinking about it as I'm saying it out loud. They have, shockingly, guess what? They bleed red.
Yeah.
They have the same challenges and more, which was another enlightening moment, I think, as I go through. I'm no longer surprised. I think early on I was surprised. Oh, like I learned that. And here's the other side of it. If they're coming to you for coaching, there's humility, I think, in wanting to be better. And your job is to help them do that, right? It's exactly what you were saying, but their hand is literally on the steering wheel. You're sitting there as your shotgun. You're sitting next to them, and you do see things maybe more clearly because you're able to look around and take your eyes off the road. They're so focused on keeping it that way. So I think knowing that, first of all, somebody's coming to you for help or expansion or elevate, like whatever they want and need, that should in itself tell you something. So it's really
Right.
about just get out of your head.
Yeah, we have to be able to give honest feedback. We talked about this in our Can You Be
Yeah.
Friends with Your Clients episode. It's like, we have to be able to tell them what they really need to hear, what's going to help them grow, not to try and tell them what they want to hear. And if you get a bit starstruck by someone you're working with, or you're thinking, oh, they're so much better than I am, or so much further ahead, you're going to be very wary about what feedback they might offer you if you tell them
Mhm.
something a bit direct. Now, obviously, maybe we will come to an episode at some point on how to give more direct feedback and how to give that honest feedback to your coaching clients in a way that is still going to help a relationship to grow, but also to give them what they really need. But
Yeah,
I think it's absolutely critical that you can do that, and you have to get your ego out of the way and have their best interests at heart.
absolutely. And here's the thing. I think the idea is to treat them like I treat all of my clients exactly the same. That's my rule of thumb. I come into it. I lead the sessions the same way in terms of what I do. I dig the same way. So really, what is the difference? Right? Really, what is the difference? It really shouldn't matter. But you and I both know that if coaches are newer, they're probably going to have maybe a couple of moments where they might be like, oh my goodness, like this is a little intimidating.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Tony came knocking on my door and said, "Hey, Angie, I want you to coach me." I would probably be a little like starstruck for a minute and be like, "Ooh," but again, I would get past that and say, "Okay." Just as a little side note to what we were talking about, when that person gave me that 9 out of 10, they were asked by the owner of the company, the facilitator, "So why? Why such a high number?" It was like the highest number of the day. "I'll take that. Thank you very much." And the answer was because she was able to use this framework, but wasn't so rigid. She actually coached. It was just a guide. She just went into coaching. She wasn't asking me, "What about this?" and questions that didn't lead anywhere. So again, I think that's just part of dialing back into your craft as a coach and working the muscle, right? That was like a dead weight 500-pound for me. That
Well,
was,
that's
it
great.
was.
No, I want to get into this, and perhaps we can make this our next conversation about more specifically. I know we want to talk about the direct conversations and maybe even provocative coaching and things like that. How we just need to sometimes lean into trusting ourselves and going for it because that's where it's going to happen rather than second guessing ourselves. We're going to have to wrap things up there, Angie, but I've really enjoyed this conversation. Hey, look, you can contact us with your questions or with any topics you'd like us to consider or any feedback you have for us. You can go to speakpipe.com/the coaching clinic podcast. The link is going to be in the notes for us. Leave us a voicemail, ask questions, tell us what you'd like us to cover on the show, and give us any feedback on what we've been covering so far. We'd love to hear from you. But we'll be back very soon. So thanks to you for listening and share us with your coaching friends, and we'll see you very soon.
Take care.